Have you ever thought about why man can transfer his knowledge and experiences to the next generations after years, but a crocodile still hunts as its ancestors did millions of years ago? What is there in humans that is not in other creatures, such as animals and plants? Is the soul the reason? Is the soul the reason that brings man to consciousness? Or does part of this transfer of information happen through genes? There is knowledge in the world that is very difficult for ordinary people to access. This is because, nowadays, most people grow up in a specific educational system and under a single upbringing. In this channel, we talk about knowledge that is not usually discussed in the educational system and normal books. Hidden secrets that sometimes you have to read ancient books and forbidden knowledge to find them. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Perhaps the soul and its details are among the most complex and controversial issues that have been discussed among philosophers, scientists, mystics, and spiritual masters in recent years. Believers in modern science often believe that the nature of the soul belongs to the past and that our ancestors did not have enough information about the functioning of the human body and other creatures. But today, with the further development of psychology and computer science, fundamental questions have been created that have made the subject of the soul an important and controversial topic in scientific societies. For example, science has no explanation about the function of dreams, and especially some of them that are related to future events and sometimes actually become a reality. Meanwhile, for thousands of years, in religions and spiritual sciences, these issues have been answered simply by defining the nature of the soul, the relationship of the soul with the other world, and receiving some information. Also, today in artificial intelligence, it is very controversial whether we will finally succeed in creating artificial intelligence that can think like us or even more advanced than us. It means a creature that can be aware of its own existence and make specific decisions that have only come from humans so far. There are different opinions here as well. Some believe that artificial intelligence will soon be able to reach human consciousness and even higher by introducing humanoid robots. Some, like Roger Penrose, a Nobel laureate mathematician, and physicist, believe that any artificial intelligence that humans manage to create is made up of specific codes and programming that we humans gave it. As a result, we cannot consider it a conscious entity but a predictive and predictable entity. But what is the spiritual point of view about the soul? In Buddhism, the soul exists as a metaphysical subject. Buddha considers the soul to be the center of human consciousness. In his belief, man has two dimensions and actually two different selves. One is the mental self or ego. In fact, it is a false self that people create in their minds. This self, according to the materiality and appearance of life, pride, successes, and failures of man in the past, is created by himself. Buddha considers this self to be false. And the other self is really me. This self is the metaphysical mentality, the soul, and the center of human consciousness that remains after the death of the body. It has been said that when Buddha cleansed his mind, put aside his thoughts, and abandoned the whole world, he realized the true and spiritual self and self-awareness. He realized that this world is a dream and people with their own thoughts and mentalities made the world and life. In the Hindu religion, there is a belief in reincarnation and karma. Hindus believe that when a person dies, his soul is born in another body, and the good quality of the current life shows kindness and goodness in the past life, and the bad quality of life shows the badness and many unresolved problems in the past life. In Hinduism, there is a belief that whatever good or bad you do will come back to you in this life and the next life. Also, some people who do very bad things will be reincarnated in the form of an animal in their next life. There are common beliefs about this among Buddhists and Hindus. For example, being born is painful, and until a person does not give up his desires and selfishness and cleanses his soul, this cycle of birth and suffering will continue. But what is the form of belief in the soul in Islam and other Abrahamic religions? In Arabic, the soul is close to the word ri, which means wind, and in Hebrew, the two words ruh and nafish are close to spirit and breath. In the Quran, the word soul is mentioned 21 times and used with different meanings, from the Holy Spirit, who are the angels and agents of the universe, to the creation of man and the blowing of God's soul into his body. But the subject of the soul still remains mysterious and ambiguous. It is stated in the Quran, "O Prophet, they ask you a question about the soul. Say that the soul is one of the commands of God." Or in another place in the Quran, it is said, God wrote faith on the pages of their hearts and strengthened them with a spirit from his own domain. For some researchers, these verses, along with the famous verse in which God spoke of blowing his spirit into a man after creating his body, have a very important meaning. That the soul creates a form of self-awareness in humans, like programming codes. The self-awareness that God placed in man at the beginning of his creation. Or in the form of metaphysics and unknown energies, or even in the form of genes and DNA codes. It is possible that both modes exist at the same time. With such an assumption, God, who is the source of consciousness, has placed something in man's existence from his consciousness that, unlike other creatures, man can overcome his environment, know himself and gain the ability to create new things. In this video, we examine the soul in science, religion, and other mysticisms, and we saw that the many complexities of man indicate the existence of a concept in addition to his physical body. This concept can be called soul.